I believe that we just live life decision to decision. And so the quality of our life is going to be contingent upon the quality of the decisions that we make. So if I can learn how to make better decisions, then I will have a better life. Pretty simple. For me, memory is nothing without retention. So I want to make sure that I'm going over these things with regularity so it becomes encoded in my memory at a deeper level. Once you start to identify those patterns, you can start to anticipate when a bad decision will come, and then you can start to force yourself to put yourself in a better mental and emotional position to make a better decision in the future.
That's Kwame Christian. He's the CEO of the American Negotiation Institute and host of the world's most popular negotiation podcast called Negotiate Anything, which currently has over 6 million downloads worldwide. Kwame's got a book and a TEDx talk and a whole lot more, but today we're just a couple buddies chatting about his cool note-taking approach. This episode has more fun, tangential banter and a little bit less of the rapid-fire insight. So let me know what you think about this kind of different flavor of episode, but you're still going to learn 1, how to listen and understand audio at 3x plus speeds, 2, how note-taking improves your decision-making, and 3, how AI can make a fun soundtrack for your life. I'm Pete Bacaitis. This is How to Be Awesome at Your Job. And now, here's Kwame. Kwame, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy.
Well, this is fun. We are not going to talk about negotiation or persuasion or psychology directly or diversity. We're talking about taking notes.
Yes.
And we both are so excited.
I'm so excited because we've been friends now for like 5, 6, 7 years. And one of the things that brought us together is our nerdiness. And so this is an opportunity for us to talk about the stuff we talk about all the time offline. So I'm pumped about this.
Well, yeah. So you told us something that blew our minds when our podcast mastermind group, we got together. You were playing a text-to-speech audio on your phone at super high speeds, such that a couple of us said, there is no way you understand what is being said there. And you said, I absolutely do. And we're like, what? What is this story? So tell us, you started doing a note-taking thing. First of all, why? What were you trying to accomplish by doing that? And then we'll walk into a little bit of the details of what you're doing.
Yeah, man. It's a fascinating story because it goes all the way back to undergrad. I had a friend who was blind and he became blind in undergrad. So he had to learn how to be blind, which was a really tough thing for him. And so he was shadowing another lawyer. And instead of reading using Braille, she was reading using text to voice. And he said it was so fast that he wasn't even able to identify that text, like that voice, as words. It was that fast. And so what I learned from him telling me that story is that your processing speed is a skill. With time, you can get it faster and faster and faster. So from undergrad, I've been training myself to go from listening to things in regular speed to 1.25 to 1.5. And now on Audible, it's up to, I think, 3.5. That's the max. But then with the note-taking apps that I use, you can go up to like 600 words per minute. And so for me, the reason why I do this is because I'm an avid note taker. When I read books, I take tons of notes, like 20, 30, and sometimes up to 60 pages of notes, size 12, single space. But I recognize that reading is nothing without retention. So I want to make sure that I'm reviewing those notes with regularity, but I want to do it quickly. And so this helps me to really not just consume a lot of information, but also retain a lot of information because I can review it really quickly.
Wow. So 600 words per minute, I think you said, which is about 4x. If we're thinking about 150 words per minute is a typical speaking rate. And so, first of all, it just sounds amazing, like for a superhuman ability. So you're going on the record.
Yes.
This is, as you know, being recorded, that you can understand words played at 600 words per minute.
Yes. And let me put a little caveat here, because you will for sure miss a couple of words every sentence. So if it's like a text I'm completely unfamiliar with zero context, I won't be able to do it. But if it's notes that I'm somewhat familiar with and that I have some idea of what it is that we're talking about, then I can follow it enough to retain the meat of the information. And if you want, I could pull it out and show listeners kind of what it sounds like. You want to do that?
Yeah, let's do it, yeah.
You want to?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. Let's see. philosophical articles. Great. And let me make sure the tempo is at the right thing. This is 605 words per minute.
Okay.
So
All right, now, Kwame, what did he just say? Or she? I can't tell.
You can't tell. So it was talking about Socrates and his philosophical approach, and then going deeper into other philosophical ideologies, mindsets, thought process, things like that. And so for me, it's like, all right, I read that previously. And so I just want to make sure I'm getting refreshers so I can keep it top of mind, because I know that memory decays after time. So I know for the things that I really want to retain, I need to revisit them with regularity in order for it to really become encoded in a deep way in my memory. For me, I know that this is something that I have visited before. So this is me revisiting these notes. And so for me, memory is nothing without retention. So I want to make sure that I'm going over these things with regularity so it becomes encoded in my memory at a deeper level. Because for me as a content creator, so as a podcaster, it's helpful to be able to go back and talk about studies and different methodologies for negotiation. And then also as a speaker too, and a recovering lawyer, I feel the need to cite my sources. So if I'm talking about different perspectives and different approaches, I can say, well, this person approaches it this way, but on this topic, another person approaches it this way. And here's a book reference for each of those so you can go deeper if you want to.
Yes, and I think that really is distinctive in terms of making content great. So that's super cool. And so if anyone's in disbelief about the speed thing, I have been playing. So you use the, I believe, Voice Dream Reader app, and there's a few I've seen out there. This one has a lot of history and a lot of street cred, it sounds like, with the blind community, as from the reviews I was gathering. And so I started doing it in terms of reading books, which it can do as well. And I was fascinated to see, it didn't take years to develop the skill of being able to understand rapid speech, but rather I was able to crank it up pretty good, like over 400, sometimes 500, so well over 3x, and understand what's happening. And it was fun for me. I was training that skill by also looking at the text, because it highlights the text as you move down at the same time.
Yeah.
So what I found interesting was it's almost like you can ride a bike in different gears and go faster, depending on how much energy and oomph you're ready to put into that thing. And so too, I found, hey, my brain is ready to go. Let's do this thing. I can go fast, and I actually appreciate going fast. Like it matches my state, and I'm not bored by what I'm reading. Instead, it's like, oh, hold on tight. Here we go. And it's cool. Or other times it's like, that just seems overwhelming right now. I don't want to go there. That's fine. We'll slow it down to something a little bit more reasonable, which still might be like 2x, 300 words per minute. And so that was eye-opening for me, just playing around with that a little bit in terms of like, and feeling like if your brain is tempted to distraction, which mine certainly is, when you're reading and you start thinking of something else, like, oh, wait, what did I just read? When I'm looking, the line is being highlighted and I'm hearing the audio, it's like we're not deviating from this text. And it's very effective when you don't want to read something. It's like, no, we are powering through this every line right now.
Oh, that's smart. I've never thought about looking at it as I go, but I think that multimodal form of digesting would lead to greater retention too.
I think so. I think it has, and I dig it.
Wow.
So, okay, we know it's possible to listen at rapid speeds. You've done it. I'm kind of doing it. Blind people have done it for a long time. So, and it's been helpful for you to retain stuff. So give us a picture for like, how is life different as a result of you having this as a regular practice? You take a lot of notes and you listen to review those notes at rapid speed. Is this just another Kwame quirk? Or to what extent is this truly enriching you, and how?
Well, I think, like I said, the retention is big, but it allows me to consume more information more quickly. So I've shifted from not just doing audiobooks in this way, but also doing everything. Like when we hung out in Washington a couple months ago, you heard me reading my emails that quickly. And so it allows me to consume more information just in general, because now I'm putting everything through a program like that. But the other thing that I found was an interesting side effect is that I feel like it helps me to be a better listener. Because for me, I can listen and still be fully engaged with that person while thinking of what a follow-up question could be. And, a lot of times when people are acting like they're listening, but not really listening, they're thinking about what's going to come next. But now I've found that I can actually wholeheartedly engage with what the person is saying while anticipating what might be coming and then coming up with a follow-up question. So it's made me a better podcaster because it feels like everybody is talking in slow motion. It's really, really fascinating. And so that also comes with a little comical downside too. It also makes me incredibly impatient with content that is not accelerated.
Yeah.
If something is just in one time speed, I'm like, I am wasting so much time here. Can you please go faster? But in everyday life, when you're actually engaging with people, it really does feel like a superpower because listening feels less effortful.
That's really cool. Let's hear more about the potential downsides. So you're irritated by 1x content sometimes. That happens. What about just like the potential toll? I'm wondering, it feels like if you're reading or fast or listening to things fast, like you're demanding more of the machine that is your body and nervous system and brain. Almost like you've had a huge workout and you're maybe fatigued afterwards. Is that a thing you're noticing in terms of like, whoa, more of my energy was sapped in that hour because I consumed more words in that hour, much like more of your energy would be sapped on a fast bike ride of an hour than a slow bike ride of an hour?
Pete, I wish we would have had this conversation years ago because that was an element that I never considered. But this last Christmas break, every Christmas break, I take time to review my notes in 500 times speed and think through everything that I've done, because I don't just take notes from the books that I've read and the articles that I've read. I am kind of like my life stenographer. I'm sitting here just writing down every thought that I care to revisit, anything that I've learned that I want to retain, any insight. So I'm constantly taking notes, dictating notes into my phone, and then listening to them later. So every month it can be over 100,000 words of Kwame notes that I've created. And then I started to realize a pattern. I started to realize that there was a pretty consistent cycle of burnout that was occurring at predictable times. And so for me as a keynote speaker, constantly traveling, that takes a toll. And I started to recognize that I wasn't recovering from those trips as quickly as possible. So I need to reschedule the way that I do things, like making the days afterwards have a little bit more space. So that helped with burnout. But I was realizing there's still something else that's taking a toll. I couldn't figure out what it was. And I realized that it was this pace that I was keeping with reading and retention. And so for the past few years, my goal has been to read. I use audiobooks, so I'm using the term reading loosely here. Consume a book every week, taking those notes. And in the morning before I go to the gym, I would listen to those notes. I would review the book notes from the previous books that I've read. And during the day, I'm listening to the book and taking notes. So it's a lot on my brain. And I did not fully appreciate the toll it was taking. And to the point where this year, I've actually decided to pull back on the amount of books that I'm reading because it was becoming just too much for me to do while still being well. So I've found that my mental health has improved as I've scaled back a little bit. So now I do it as I need to spot learn specific things at specific times, but not really forcing myself to keep that pace. One book a week, reviewing the notes in the morning. It was just too much to keep up with. And it was leading to burnout. So fatigue is real with this because it does take a lot more to consume information in this way.
So that's good to know. And you have that set of options then. You can choose to listen variety of speeds based upon your energy and other demands for the day, for the week. And you got that going for you. So that's pretty nifty. With regard to your note taking, can you get a little bit precise with regard to voice dream reader is how we're listening to or hearing the notes, but how you say you're dictating them to capture them, or what's the capture side look like?
Capture side is pretty basic, just the iPhone Notes app. And so I would put it in the iPhone Notes app, and then I would just copy and paste it into VoiceStream. And actually, it might be helpful to go into the types of notes that I'm taking, because I talked about a couple of those things, but I can go a little bit deeper too.
Oh, yeah. So is there any thought you might care to revisit and stuff from books that it was good? That's what we got so far.
Yes. So those are the things. And then also decision making. That's been a big focus for me because for me, my philosophy, I believe that we just live life decision to decision. And so the quality of our life is going to be contingent upon the quality of the decisions that we make. So if I can learn how to make better decisions, then I will have a better life. Pretty simple. So I would read a lot of books on decision making, but then I recognize that those books are great and they have a lot of studies that study other people, but there's nobody studying me. That's my job now. So any decision that I make that was suboptimal, I write that down. And I talk
now
about—
we got to hear some juicy examples,
Yeah.
Kwame. Suboptimal decisions.
everything. And listeners as well, this is how you know that I know Pete, because I know Pete likes to optimize. And when I use the term suboptimal, I know that will tickle your fancy. Okay, so this is great. So I'll give an example. It goes down to the most mundane decisions. So I was doing a keynote in Vegas earlier this year, and I was going down to breakfast. And I was closing the door to my room. And I said, I forgot my chapstick. It's okay. I feel fine. I go down, I eat breakfast, and now my lips are dry because we're in the desert. And I said, I should have unlocked that door, opened it, and got the chapstick, because now I'm going to waste 5 minutes getting back upstairs in this massive hotel. I will never make this mistake again. So when I'm talking about every decision, that's an example of how mundane these decisions go. But then I think about business decisions, and I think about mistakes that I've made in the past. And then hindsight is 2020. And I look back and I say, how did I not see this coming? Because it seems obvious to me. But then when I review the notes, I recognize the emotions that were going through my mind, that in my body as I was going through this process. I think about how I was feeling. I write down what I'm thinking and what led to the decision. What I was feeling, what led to the decision. Who I talked to and how I felt before that conversation and how I felt after the conversation. And then I started to recognize patterns. I'm saying, okay, this was a bad decision. And I recognize that even though I had the data to make the right decision, I made the wrong decision based on emotionality. Why? Oh, in this situation, I had a conversation with this person and then they complimented me. I'm recognizing I have a vulnerability where if somebody compliments me, it makes it hard for me to make a decision subsequently that is not in their favor. And so now I'm more mentally prepared to protect myself, to separate the decision from the compliment. So I'll put more space between a decision if I feel particularly good about a conversation that I had about a person. And so those are the type of decision-making patterns that I want to pay attention to. Because once you start to identify those patterns, you can start to anticipate when a bad decision will come. And then you can start to force yourself to put yourself in a better mental and emotional position to make a better decision in the future.
That's very beautiful. And I'm thinking even the minute ones can pack big insights. I'm thinking about a time that I had a friend and there was a bachelor party fun, woo, going on. And I remember I was kind of thirsty. And I thought, I should go get some water from the bartender there. But then I thought, no, I don't want to inconvenience them with just water, which is free and doesn't produce any income for them or their establishment or a tip for them. And so I just won't bother them. I can make do and just drink some water later. Anyway, so the next morning I was feeling very not great. Dehydrated plus, if you will. And I was thinking, well, I really should have just asked to get the water. And I was like, what's that about? Why am I not doing that? And then you realize, here's a pattern for me. Is like, I really, really, really feel uncomfortable about putting people out, having them feel inconvenienced for the sake of my needs and preferences. And so that's good information and to really have at the fore when you're making a subsequent decision is like, I feel not comfortable. I feel uncomfortable about this. It's like, maybe that's because you've got this weird hang-up associated with inconveniencing other people to meet your needs, as in not asking the bartender for some water. And so that kind of reflection and note-taking is handy to surface those things. It could be a tiny stimulus or prompt, chapstick, cup of water from a bartender, and yet have a huge insight on the other side of it that has ripple implications for many decisions.
Absolutely. And that's when it becomes really fun, when you start to see these hidden patterns. And that's the type of information that you can only get from evaluating and investigating yourself on a deep level. Because we can read all of these books. You and I both have podcasts, so we can talk to these incredible people who have incredible insights. But imagine if one of those incredible people was solely dedicated to investigating your life and trying to make it better. And I recognize that has to be our responsibility, because the ripple effects of these small things can be significant. And a lot of times you might not recognize it until you take the time to investigate it. And one of the things that's really funny to me is when I sometimes go back to journal entries from years ago, like 2017, 2018, sometimes I will see the original thought that led to something that I do with regularity that I take for granted right now. And that's always really insightful, because it shows me how with every decision, everything that we learn and then subsequently put into practice, we are really shaping who we are and changing our identity. So right now, Kwame of 2024, I can listen to this and I can say to myself, yeah, this is how I see the world. This is how I navigate it. Obviously, why wouldn't I? But then I forget how much time it took for me to build this part of myself up to make this a regular type of thing. And sometimes it takes multiple entries and multiple attempts to learn and put these things into place for it to become part of you. But I recognize that the more intentional I am about investigating things, the better I can be when it comes to making tough decisions. So let me give a tangible example. So for me, as an entrepreneur, I recognize that sometimes there are going to be times where if I'm running a company, I want to have the best team possible. And that might require me to have to change the dynamics of my team by removing somebody from my team. And I remember the first time, we've been in a mastermind group for like 5 years. So you seeing me go through this, it was like an existential crisis having to fire somebody, because I had this belief that relationships should last forever. If it's an indictment on me as a leader to not be able to have this person with me till the very end. And I recognized through talking with you and the guys and lots of journaling, like it's a problematic belief. It's not true. I can overcome this. But I recognize that it took a lot of time and thought and intentionality to really evaluate those underlying beliefs that were leading me to feel the way that I'm feeling now. And so now fast forward to this year, I had to let a couple people go. And each person, there's a different emotional thing that was holding me back from making that decision. And so I was able to do that evaluation much quicker and at the same time at a much deeper level through this process to recognize those patterns of thinking that led me to make bad decisions in the past to this time make the right decision. It was still very, very emotionally challenging, but I was able to get to that conclusion faster because of this process of self-evaluation.
Yeah, that's powerful. And those are definitely tricky emotional matters. And it's funny thinking about some of the mastermind group conversations. That's often the case in terms of there's a thing that we're mostly sure should probably happen or not happen. And yet there is a little bit of uncertainty, but a lot of discomfort. And so we just stall for so long in terms of like launching this thing or shutting something down. It goes way longer than it needs to. Because we are rational, cognitive creatures and also emotional creatures. And it's so helpful to, well, one, hey, I recommend mastermind groups for everybody, just as a general thought, as well as journaling and self-reflection. These are some of the top tools by which you can see what's going on. And in fact, have a look in the past and see, oh, that's pretty cool how much I've grown, how far I've come. Because of the day in, day out, you may not even realize it, just as you said. It seems like this is just how I operate. This is how I've always been. No, it's not.
Nope. Yeah, it's powerful, man. And it's very exciting too. I think one of the things that was really helpful when it came to making better decisions, especially those emotionally heart-wrenching decisions, is I would journal how I would feel leading up to the decision. I would journal how I felt as I was making the decision. And then I would journal how I felt immediately after, and then as time passed. And so it's so interesting. It's almost like watching a little kid jump into a pool for the first time. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Okay, I'm going to do it. Oh, that was scary. That wasn't that bad. No, I feel really good now. Man, why didn't I do that before? And so for me, one of the most empowering things is how I feel after the good decision. And I recognize that my emotions will lead me to make bad decisions that might feel good in the moment, but feel bad for a very long time. And then I can set myself free with a good decision. Now, the good decision will feel bad in the moment, but will feel good after the fact. And so when I see that freedom afterwards, I'm saying, I'm not going to focus so much on the decision as I am going to focus on the future feeling of freedom after making the good decision. And so I'm like, I want to make future Kwame happy. What would make future Kwame happy? I know Kwame in the present will feel really bad as he's making this tough decision, but the future version of myself will appreciate it. And so when I think about it through the lens of making the future Kwame happy, that also helps me to have the right perspective because I'm trying to play the long game. Usually when it comes to good decision making, it really comes down to prioritizing long-term benefits over short-term rewards. And when I continuously remember that and I can see evidence of that throughout my life in this journal, then it helps me to feel confident in the decision, even if I don't feel like doing the right thing in the moment.
Wisdom. So you're taking these notes, and I'm curious about the nuts and bolts here. Are they tagged by these categories, or is it just one giant chronological situation? How do you find the relevant stuff from months past? What's kind of the system that makes it work? We know how that get captured. We know how it gets reviewed at rapid speed. How does it get organized such that it's workable for you?
All right. Now, Pete, be ready to be disappointed because the organization,
I'm ready.
the organization is not strong. It's just a big old blob of notes. And that's really what it is. But what I've started to do with time is categorize it by month. So what month am I in? So I could go back into specific months now. But before it was, I would just put all of these notes into one iPhone notes document until the note became so big that the note wasn't functioning anymore. And then
Oh, wow. I've never gotten there before.
and I would say, oh, okay, time to start a new one. And so at the last year, I think it was 8 different notes, like journal entries, like that were big. And each of them was probably, because I was listening at it for a long period of time. So I was at like 400 or 500 words per minute as I'm reviewing that during Christmas break. Each one is about 10 to 12 hours long. It's a substantial amount of notes. And so I think I did the word count for last year. It was over 1 million words of notes that I took. But this year, I'm trying something new that's been really helpful. And it was categorizing by month and giving every month a theme. So what is the theme? And so in February, I had to let some folks go. So it was Red February. I had to make some really tough decisions. So I'm like, listen, okay, so I need to make these tough decisions in my company. What other tough decisions do I need to make in my life? What other things do I need to let go of? So I was focusing on some bad habits, some other things that I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to make some cuts this month. And then I realized Red February hurts a lot. So I said, March is all about mindset. It's mindset March. What can I do to be well again, to be more at peace? And so I started to try to approach business as a meditation, approach life as a meditation. How can I focus on my breathing through all of the decisions that I'm making, through all of the activities that I'm taking? And the worse that I'm feeling, the more I'm going to focus on my breathing. Can I turn life into a meditation? And so that's what March was about. And then we were launching a program, Negotiate Anything Premium. And so April was all about just focusing on revenue. So how can I focus on making decisions that are geared towards revenue? Because going through the notes, I recognized that a lot of the decisions that I was making, they were about status. They were about image. They look good from the outside, but the revenue really wasn't there to substantiate the continuation of a lot of those strategies. So I'm like, let me evaluate this from a really focused business perspective. What can I do to focus on increasing revenue and increasing impact that we make with that revenue? And so that was the focus. So going through these months thematically has been really, really helpful because it's not just an evaluation of what is occurring. It's also helping me to make decisions in a way that help me to move my life in a specific direction with more intentionality.
That's phenomenal. And so then when you look back on things, it sounds like you just periodically are just listening, kind of like often. But if you've got something from 18 months ago, you're probably not going to listen to that, are you? You're probably listening to the things you had 1 or 2 or 3 months ago. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%, because there's limited utility in going that far back, unless honestly, if I just want to be entertained. But I try to go through it within 12 months. But this year I've been trying to go month to month. So once I finish January, I'm going to review January and February, review February and March, and so on. But again, that was leading to a lot of exhaustion. And so I've been actually challenging myself to make fewer notes and listen to the notes less. So I'm still listening to it, but just trying to be in the moment. Because part of what I discovered about myself in March is that a lot of times I can get so in my head about these things. It's led to some overthinking in places where I should be in flow. So when you think about just the psychology of flow, when you're in that flow state, you're not actively really consciously, logically thinking about things. Your body and mind, they're just kind of responding and reacting. And I know that I've consumed enough information, I've learned enough through my life that I can flow really well when I let go. And so it's almost like I'm at this point where I'm trying to balance that depth of thought and my analytical thinking with my ability to let go and flow a little bit more. And so to your point about avoiding burnout, I recognize that I have to kind of slow down with this retention, this process, because it's been leading to burnout, and flow has been a focus. So I've actually, the last couple of months, this is going to sound very bizarre, but the last couple of months, I've been challenging myself to listen to more music and do less. And that's actually been more rewarding, because I find when I'm in conversation, when I'm on stage doing keynotes, when I'm doing podcasts and things like that, and even when I'm just playing with my sons, Kai and Dominic, I'm more present because I'm not overanalyzing things. So it's about finding that balance, because anything done out of proportion can be problematic.
Well, and I don't think you're alone with that music comment. I remember at one point, Apple Music had a podcast advertising campaign. So it was on, they were advertising the Apple Music offer when it was newer on podcasts. And it was like, boy, there's so much talk and noise and stuff going on. Like, boy, it's great music. And I just thought that was such a novel. I was like, wow, do you need to sell us on listening to music? It's like an ancient human delight. It's like, what's great? Eating food. Right? Give it a shot. And so, I mean, but no, it's like they were meeting them where they're at. Hey, regular podcast listener, remember music? That's a great thing to listen to as well. So you're not alone there. And it's good to be reminded.
Absolutely. And now, Pete, I am not perfect. Now I don't think I've told you this newest nerd move that I've been doing. So I've taken like the notes that I've written, like all like millions of words, and I put it into ChatGPT.
Oh boy.
And I said, okay, there are these new apps that are AI music generators. And so I don't know if you've ever used these things. The one that I use is Suno AI. And you can give it lyrics and describe the vibe that you want to create. And then it'll make the music, just brand new music, just off the cuff. I told ChatGPT to take the themes that come up the most frequently in my journal. What are the top 10 themes? It's like decision-making, family, legacy, business, those type of things. Just what are the top 10 things? All right. Now I want you to make lyrics for music off of those things. So I take those lyrics and put it into Suno AI. And so now a lot of times where I'm like, I'm going to vibe to some music, but I want to make sure my music has a good message. And I'd love it if it was talking about things that are relevant to me, because I don't know, when I'm working out, I'm a family man. I try to help my community. Talking about drugs and murder in my music, it's not really the vibe, but I just like the beat. But now I can take my journal entries and turn them into cool lyrics. It's motivating. It's so powerful. I love those things. And Pete, if you want to, it takes 60 seconds to make this. You want me to make you something, a song for you real quick? I can do that right now.
So yeah, just roll with it, see what happens.
Yeah, well, now this app, it has like the integration in there. So it'll make it yourself. So now I'll give it the inspiration. Let's do customize. I'll just give it some lyrics. It'll randomize it. I'll just say, create an inspirational song for my friend named Pete Makaitis. He is a family man, a businessman, a hard worker, a deep thinker, always looking to optimize decision-making and life in general. And he loves to help people.
Can it be a country song?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'll say country song, male vocals. Inspirational? You want inspirational?
Yeah.
Vibe. Okay, the song title it chose is Rise and Shine, Pete.
Rise and shine, Pete. Family man, true and sweet. Hard at work in the grind. Deep thinker, sharp mind.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Well, it's good enough, so I want to know what comes next.
Exactly.
I was like, why'd you pull it away from the microphone? Well, now you got me thinking about affirmations. You could put those to music that might make it more interesting or more impactful, because that's ideally what music should do.
Right.
It stirs within you emotion and the human spirit. So that's fun. Okay, wow, Kwame, you're putting all of us to shame, right? We're just brushing our teeth in silence, and you've got custom AI generated inspiring songs and or rapid playing notes of brilliance. I just feel honored that I was able to draw you in a game of chess.
Yes.
That's my greatest achievement with this great mind.
That was such a good game. It was a great game. And I think it was the perfect ending, too. It was a draw. It was a lot of fun.
And I think you could have beaten me if you really wanted to put in the time, but I'm glad you didn't. So anything else we should mention before we hear about another round of your favorite things?
Yeah, so check out Negotiate Anything Premium. Of course, we have the podcast, Negotiate Anything. It's the #1 negotiation podcast. But we have a premium offering for subscribers who could listen ad-free and some bonuses. Ask me anything, so you could ask me questions. I answer your negotiator-related questions. But that's the main thing that we're working on right now. We're really excited about the way it turned out.
One sponsor to check out is Earthbreeze. I recently saw a Netflix documentary that talks about all the plastic that we throw away and we try to recycle, but it doesn't really get recycled. So I've been trying to reduce my plastic, and the most wonderful way that I've been doing so has been skipping those gigantic laundry detergent bottles for Earthbreeze detergent sheets. Earthbreeze detergent comes in super convenient cardboard, plastic-free packaging, so it's much more eco-friendly than your normal detergent. And I love how portable and quick and easy they are, and I save a pretty reasonable amount of time skipping having to carefully pour and measure liquid detergent into the machine by just tossing a quick and easy sheet in there. I personally like their scent-free version, so check out Earthbreeze for an easy way to get clean clothes without the plastic waste and get 40% off with your subscription at earthbreeze.com/awesome. That's earthbreeze.com/awesome.
One sponsor checkout is Bamboo HR. I love owning my own business, but I do not love doing government compliancy things. HR is hard, but Bamboo HR is easy. Bamboo HR is a powerful yet flexible all-in-one HR solution for your growing business. Wrangling benefits, onboarding, performance, recruiting, reporting, vacation time, trainings, oh my, can take hours. But with Bamboo HR, it can take mere minutes. Setting up a demo account is ridiculously easy. I didn't have to coordinate calendars to schedule a demo with a sales rep. Nope. I just created a sample account with sample data within 3 minutes of visiting their website, so I could immediately behold its vast capabilities. The software is genuinely beautiful in its breadth and simplicity. No wonder 34,000 companies trust Bamboo HR with their HR needs. So reclaim your time and check out the free demo at bamboohr.com/free demo. See for yourself all that Bamboo HR can do and how truly affordable it can be too. That's bamboohr.com/free demo. One more time, bamboohr.com/free demo.
All right. Now, could you share with us a favorite quote?
Yes. So for me, one thing that I've been enjoying, and this is a quote I made up, you don't get bonus points for not using your resources. And I feel like a lot of times when it comes to the difficult situations we find ourselves in, we almost think that there is some kind of valor in not accepting help from others and not using the resources available. And the people who are the most successful are the people who utilize the resources at their disposal.
Kwame, I love that's hitting me. All right. And now how about a favorite study?
So my favorite study that I've been referring to a lot for my negotiation clients is a study on the principle called anchoring. So I believe it's the most powerful negotiation technique at our disposal. And it's really more of a psychological principle. It's like a priming effect. And so with anchoring, what you do in negotiation is you start off the negotiation with the most aggressive request that you can reasonably justify with the data available. And so what they found is that just having a more aggressive first offer dictates the outcome more than almost anything in negotiation.
No kidding.
Kid you not. And so with what they did a study in real estate. And so they found that with anchoring, even with experienced realtors, it worked for them. So what they had them do is go into a home and look at the home, and then there would be a list price. And so look at the list price and then look at the comps. And then you would make a decision on what you think is a fair price for this home. And so in the study, what they did was they said, all right, the list price is, let's say, $200,000 in this scenario. And then in the other scenario, the list price was $250. And in the other scenario, the list price was $300. But the comps were all the same. And so they're like, all right, come up with your estimation for what you think is a fair price for this home. And not surprisingly, based on the psychology of anchoring, the people who were primed with that anchor of 200 guessed an average less than the people who were primed with 250, who then guessed on average less than the people who were primed with 300,000. And so my favorite anchoring study was actually the Gandhi study. So what they had them do is they separated people into two different groups. And so they asked them ridiculous questions, but they asked them the same second question. So the first question they asked to group A was, do you think Gandhi was older than or younger than 13 when he died? In the next group, right? Ridiculous. Every picture we see of Gandhi, he's very old. And then in the other group, they said, do you think Gandhi was older than or younger than 130 when he died? Again, ridiculous. He was old, but not 130. And then they asked them the same second question. How old do you think Gandhi was when he died? And the group that was primed with 13 guessed on average 20 years younger than the group that was primed with 130. So even when there is not legitimate information to back it up, the priming effect from anchoring still works. And so that's why for me, with my negotiations, this is the simple rule that I follow. If I have as much information or more information than the other side, I'm always going to make the first offer because anchoring is so powerful. If I have less information than the other side, I don't have enough information to give a competent anchor because I might undervalue it unwittingly. So I'll counter in that case. But anchoring is so strong, I always find a way to make the first offer if I have enough information to make a competent first offer.
Undervalue it unwittingly. Well, I guess if you're on the purchase side, the buyer side, you would want a lower price.
Right.
So it's like, hey, this isn't going to work unless I can get a customer acquisition cost of less than $1,000. So that's a form of anchoring. In terms of like, okay, well, hey, we got the impressions and the conversion rates and but so that you're exhorting the pull. And I've heard that even judges who see irrelevant numbers like a housing street address, different housing street addresses in a document can in turn impact their judgment for what's an equitable distribution of assets.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the case at hand. It's just a number it got in your brain and then it's in there.
Yep. And Pete, with these studies, it's like the researchers almost got playful with it because it seems like they're saying, how far can we push this nonsense? Because they did a study where they anchored with the last 4 digits of a phone number. So the people who had 9, 8, and 7 as the first number, they were anchored different from the people who had like 0, 1, 2, or 3, just based on those numbers. So back when I was practicing law more frequently, when I was making demand letters, if I was asking for a lot more money, I would write the date out numerically. I would write it with as many numbers as possible. But when I was asking for a lower number, I would just write out the date. I'd say January 1, and not even put the rest of the date. Because I'm like, everything has an impact. I don't know what that impact is, but I know what anchoring is going to do. So I'm going to go small numbers if I want a small number, big numbers if I want a big number.
Hey, I know it said 10,000 and you were hoping for 50,000, but 10,000 is a lot more than January 1. So, exactly. I mean, in a way, it's a bargain. That is wild. And I think a good lesson, and that's also a good lesson just in preparation, in terms of knowing we are hyper susceptible to these.
Yes.
Do your research in advance to determine what is a number you can truly live with, as opposed to, so you have that influence inside of you, as opposed to, well, you know what, we're going to take a call and just kind of see what they come up with. Is like, that's kind of playing a dangerous game.
Very.
You may find that you accept an unreasonable thing as reasonable just because you didn't get yourself settled somewhere sensible in advance.
Yeah. And again, Pete, this gets really deep too, because, I like to make jokes every once in a while, but in a negotiation, I might make an anchoring joke, right? So imagine you're negotiating for a higher salary. And so you go into your boss and you act all serious, and a reasonable price might be, let's say $150,000 is reasonable. You're at 140. You're trying to get to 150. That's a reasonable leap. And so you say, well, I know this might be a little bit awkward, but I wanted to have a conversation about compensation. All right. Well, what did you have in mind? Well, I was thinking it is what I want, $653,000. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, what I think is reasonable, if we could get to 155,000, that's what I'd like, right? So if you say something like ridiculous as a joke, you have a little bit of tension that is diffused with a little silly humor. And then you give the real number, the contrast principle still has an effect, right? I'm going to do a fake anchor with a joke, and then do the real anchor, base it with data and science, and the research. But then it makes whatever you're asking a lot more reasonable when you consider the contrast principle there too.
Yeah, well, then that gives you so much leeway with your joke in terms of, you say, well, I saw an article about a prompt engineer getting paid $360,000, and I said, I know how to type into Chat GPT, so that's kind of what I was hoping for. But the market comp suggests,
exactly. Exactly. Because you could think about it on the other side. The anxiety, like the adrenaline will start pumping. They're like, are you seriously going to ask? Oh, thank goodness. And one of the best emotions to feel that's truly undervalued is relief. You give them that feeling of relief. And now it just changes the whole vibe, but also has a significant psychological impact.
And it's funny. I've also done that. I've also done that with my wife. If I have to deliver some bad news, it's like, okay, so everybody's safe. There were no injuries. We are financially secure. The structure of the home is still intact. However, I broke this thing, and I'm sorry. It was like,
exactly.
Okay.
That's a perfect example. Great example.
Because it does. It's like, in terms of relief, he's like, everybody's safe. Okay. It must be pretty bad if that's where we're starting.
Yep.
Oh, yep. Okay. You just broke the dishwasher. All right. Okay, that was dumb. You shouldn't have broken the dishwasher, but I'm not going to give you a hard time about it because I guess you're right. In the grand scheme of things, we're okay.
I love that example. That's good.
And a favorite book?
Favorite book right now, I am really liking Unlearning Silence by Elaine Lynn Herring. She is a Harvard law grad.
We had her on the show.
Oh, you had her? Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, Elaine is amazing. And so with her approach, it's not just about the negotiation excellence because she has that in spades. It's also about recognizing that sometimes people don't feel comfortable standing up and speaking out about the things that are really meaningful for them. So with that book, she analyzes what could be holding you back and then what you need to do to have that conversation and then how to have it more effectively.
Okay. And a favorite tool?
Favorite tool right now, I mean, it would be hard not to say tools like Voice Dream and Suno AI and Chat GPT after this conversation.
You got it. And favorite habit?
My favorite habit right now is I'm really enjoying going to the gym. That's something we bond over too. I'm recognizing that it is a keystone habit for me because for me, the gym has been a core source of socialization. And you would love this because I recognized there was a hole in my social game when it came to creating relationships out of thin air. Like if there's somebody that I don't know at all and have no connection with, I didn't know how to just go up to that person and start a conversation. So as I was working out, I was learning how to do that because I read in a book written by a spy, The Code of Trust, Robin Dreeke. He talked about how spies would approach people and start organic conversations out of nothing. And I was like, no way that it's that easy. So I started to hone that skill at the gym. And so for me, after 5 years of doing that, because of course I'm keeping track, I have a list now of 306 people that I have met in the gym over the past few years.
This is one facility, 306 people.
It's 2 gyms now, 2 gyms.
Okay.
But,
Oh my gosh. Wow. Hardcore.
but yeah, that's still a lot.
You got 2 different gyms for your working out?
Well, I moved. So it's
Oh.
like it's like 10 minutes away, right? It's the same gym, different locations. But it's been great. And what's been funny, Pete, is that I've made some really great relationships there. I've had people who became employees of the company. That's how I closed Chase Bank as a client, with just making these relationships from the gym. So yeah, physically, it's been great. It's been helpful in terms of pushing myself harder in the gym. It helps me to understand how I can push myself harder in life, make these social connections. I feel a lot smarter because I have more energy during the day. And my family and my colleagues at work, they can tell days that I missed the gym. They're like, something's off, Kwame. Did you go to the gym? I was like, no, I didn't go to the gym today. Yeah, they could tell. So going to the gym has been really, really helpful, not just for physical health, but also mental health.
Well, now I'm curious. Well, we got to have you on yet again because I'm imagining. So let's just say here I'm filling up a water bottle and you are also in line to fill up your water bottle. What might you say to me here in this gym situation where we find ourselves in?
Yes. Okay. So this is the move. What you do is you make an observation that both of you can appreciate or recognize.
Water's good, huh?
Yeah. Water's pretty cold today, right, buddy?
But no, seriously though, it's kind of tricky. Like I'm in that situation. Like maybe you want to talk to somebody for any number of reasons. And that's what I think come up with is something really lame like, I sure am thirsty. How about you? And then I'm like, don't say that. That's dumb. So what do you come up with?
Sometimes it is as simple as like, hey, I've seen you in the gym so many times. I feel like I should introduce myself. Hi, I'm Kwame. That usually works. I usually would do that with guys. Approaching a woman is different. You have to be, because of the dynamic in the gym, you have to be really mindful of that. But sometimes it's a unique exercise that they might be doing. And it's just genuine curiosity. None of it is fabricated. I'll say, I've never seen that before. What does that do? Like, why do you do it that way? Right. So I'll ask for advice and they say, oh yeah, it works the rotator cuff in that way. I was like, I've had shoulder problems. That's really helpful. My name's Kwame, by the way. Or if I see shoes that I've never seen before, I'm like, I really like that pattern. I've never seen that color combination. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I got it because of blah, blah, blah. Start the conversation there. And then just say, oh, I'm Kwame, by the way. And so whenever you introduce yourself, then people always reciprocate. And then you just build from there. And so now it's just like gym highs turn into, hey, how are you doing? Oh, what are you up to? And then the relationship deepens. But you definitely want to respect people where it's like, oh, you make that introduction, but you can recognize they prefer to be left alone. You can get that vibe. And I think the background in negotiation and body language can help too, because you pay attention to the person's feet and the orientation of the feet. So if their feet are staying square with you, they want to stay engaged in the conversation. If I see the feet start to shift in the other direction, I recognize they want to leave. And then I say, hey, well, listen, let me let you get back to the workout. I just wanted to introduce myself. I hope you have a great day. And then that's it. And then you just build from there.
All right. And if folks want to learn more, get in touch, where'd you point them?
LinkedIn is the best place. So if you want to connect, I post on LinkedIn every day. Of course, we have the podcast. The podcast comes out every day. And if you like cute children, follow me on Instagram. That's another place I frequent too.
And do you have a final challenge or call to action for folks looking to be awesome at their jobs?
Yeah, I would say start thinking about your decision-making process. What is it that really moves you to make decisions? Because a lot of times you'll be surprised. Because I used to think, I am a deep thinker, clearly, that because of the conversation, but I didn't recognize how much my emotions were swaying my decisions, and especially what emotions were swaying my decisions. Because I often thought about negative emotions swaying decisions negatively, but a lot of my bad decisions were made because of the positive feelings I was feeling at the moment too. So just start taking notice of the decisions that you're making and how you were thinking and feeling, especially feeling leading into that decision. And that's how you can start to optimize decision making so you can start to have a better life.
All right. Kwame, this has been a treat once again. Keep on rocking.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate it.
I will say I've continued to use the VoiceStream app and enjoy having that extra gear in my back pocket. If I want to go really fast, moderately fast, audio enhanced, or just visually reading the old-fashioned way, I can do all those things, and I enjoy having that extra flexibility. I also enjoy the Rise and Shine Pete song. I have in fact played it multiple times and for my kids. So if you want to hear that Rise and Shine Pete song, that's linked in our show notes along with the transcript and links to other bits we've referenced. That's found at awesomeatyourjob.com/EP981. I also recommend you sign up for the Gold Nuggets at awesomeatyourjob.com, which gives you a summary write-up of the actionable wisdom that Kwame shares in this episode, as well as unlocking the whole archive of all 981 of these such summary write-ups. Those are the Gold Nuggets at awesomeatyourjob.com. I hope to catch you next time. Peace.